Good afternoon, and welcome to this special chat with our very own Super Shelly. Shelly does regular Monday sessions, Monday lunchtime sessions, and has been now for nearly 2 years. And so I thought it was time, as we'd started this with doing a session with Big Al, and it's good to revisit all of our members who cover sessions. So Maverick, Shelly, Beamer, Big Al, as I've already said, doing like a bit of a catch up, because we did this about roughly 2 years ago, where I did some interviews. Shelly, I think maybe it was more into the summer of 2 years ago, I believe. I think it was about the July time, wasn't it? We did a
Yes, I believe, yeah, probably
maybe
just
about
under
that.
2 years, yeah.
And it was interesting because no one would believe this, but you didn't even want to do the interview.
No, I didn't. No, I was
Yeah.
really worried about it, but yeah, it's all worked out okay in the end.
And I hope you don't mind me disclosing this, but little secret, Shelley had made notes for the interview. And so Shelley, being so organized, had made notes on the things that she wanted to talk about. How many of those notes did you actually get to talk about?
I think it was a zero. I think you completely changed the track of the conversation where I thought it was going to go.
Yeah. So and it was just a loose conversation, a nice, easy conversation, as you know, as we had. So and and I thought, right now, okay, we're practically 2 years on. That last session that we did was a session about how you got into trading and taken us up to 2 years ago. So what I thought would be nice would be to have a chat about some of the things that have happened over this last 2 years since that last chat. We don't need to go back over old ground as to how you got into trading and all that sort of stuff. And so let's pick up from there. And so the first question that I wanted to ask really was, oh, okay. I mean, so we did the interview, and then you sort of said to me afterwards, actually, I quite enjoyed that. It was fine. I don't know, and it was all good. And somehow or other, a month or so later, I started trying to bend your arm into just doing a session at some point. I don't think even then I had the idea of getting you to do one every week, but these things just grow. And so then you did, and we said, well, let's take it, one step at a time, and let's, and do a session and see how you feel about it, didn't we, at the time?
Yeah, yeah.
And here we are, in 2024. And so my first question really is, how, doing those sessions that you do now every week, how how do you feel that they have helped you personally?
Um, I think they've helped me massively, actually. And I was quite surprised the benefit that I've got from them because as you know, as you said, you mentioned, I'm sort of an organized person. I like to make sure everything's correct, and it's made me. I would hate to come on the mic and say something incorrectly or whatever. So I do research into what I'm doing a lot more just by default to be able to present and talk about what I'm doing. I'm double checking what I'm saying all the time to make sure it's correct. And so that in itself makes me uh, analyze even more if that's possible and go over and go over things more and look into things in more depth just to make sure that I've got enough content and I know what I'm talking about when I'm on the mic. So it's really helped me become more of a rounded trader, I think, and really helped my results really going forward from there.
Do you think that like you said, because you're consciously having to think about what you're saying, how do you
Yes.
think that that sort of mental connection has helped your trading? I know you have to do prep, but the actual talking things through and describing things, how do you feel that's helped?
Oh, again, it's been a major help to me, which is a nice feeling, really, because coming on the mic to contribute back, not expecting to get things back in return. I've learned so much from being in the room, and to give something back is a nice feeling. And I wasn't expecting a benefit for myself, really, but I think saying things out loud, repeating things over, is just a very good way of learning and installing that confidence in what you're doing. And where I'm coming on and talking about what I'm doing all the time, it makes me reiterate my plan and just confirm it again to myself. I mean, I'm doing that anyway, going over and over, but it's a little bit different when you're saying it out loud and you're saying it to other people. And then someone will question me on that maybe the next week. Oh, so you got in there and what you doing? And I can't, that makes me stick to my plan a lot more as well. If I was going to change my plan and have a weakness moment or something like that, I can't do that anymore because I'm saying to other members, this is what I'm doing. This is what my plan is. This is where I'm looking for. So I have to follow that through even more so. And so that's helped a lot as well.
It holds you to account, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that level of transparency, when you, like you just said, when you say, "Oh, I'm going to do this," or "I'm doing this," and again, it just helps. You're disciplined, or you've learned discipline in trading over the years anyway, but it just takes it to another level, doesn't it?
It certainly does, and I think I was quite shocked at that, gaining something back from it in that way.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, it's been a great
I,
help to me.
I've talked about this in the past, that we all get something from this, myself included, we all do. And I think it's, from like you've touched on, confidence was a big thing as well. Not for you personally, but the confidence of coming on the mic, talking,
Mm.
little surprises that, actually, with the feedback, like you've said, it's been surprising, just the wonderful feedback that you get, and it's nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it certainly is. It's just a great community. As you know, I've been a member for quite a while, and I just sometimes, I mean, Big Al said this to me when we met up at Christmas. He said he knows he's confident as a trader, but could he do what he does without the room? He's not sure. And I feel the same really because we know how to trade. We know, we've learned
Mm.
our craft, but we're forever learning more all of the time. And having the community there is a great asset. And so if you took that away, I don't, I think that would definitely have an impact on my results, I think. So it's works both ways.
Oh, it so does. And the problem that we now have, Shells, is that there's going to be a number of people listening to this chat that we're having thinking, I want to come on the mic. I need to come on the mic. I want to say, Charlie, I want a session.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
well, we never know, because we could always have someone else, as I guess, to do something different as well. So I've got a number of questions here for you, Shelley, so that we've got to work through, and so hopefully none of them are. I think they're all easy enough for you. So I want, again, we're talking about this last 2 years, and I know this has gone on. This obsession of yours has gone on for a lot longer than that. But talk to me, Goose. Gold. Why?
um, I don't know why. There's been periods of time where I haven't traded it because going back, it went through some really choppy,
Yeah.
untradable patterns and things. But when you see something, so when you see something developing and you just really get into that market and you get a feel for it, it's then it's a bit like you are with your euro that you just are getting so involved in that market and you understand the price movement, what it's capable of. where you need to, how volatile it is, and all of the things that it happens. If we look at, I did a session on silver actually, and how it consolidates sideways for long periods and then moves again in dramatic sort of ways, and you just get an understanding of the personality of each market. And because I've been looking at gold for a long time, I just have that common sort of knowledge of it, if you like. And when you see something, you have to trade it, because you just see it sitting there to be done. And I think the when I first came on the mic, I was talking about the gold trade that I'd done, going back into 2022 when I was shorting gold, and then at the end of 22 when I went long on gold. And that for me will always be a standout trade, because it was something that I did off the back of my own analysis, really sort of quite contrary to what was going on at the time, because everyone was thinking gold was going to keep going higher, etc. And that, I really enjoyed that trade, and that was one of the ones that I'll just remember. And I talked that through on the mic about what I had done and then what I was doing, and that was one of the first things that I disclosed. And I think I've just got a passion for it. I just like the movement from it. Yeah, it's like any market. Once you get to know it, then you just become a bit better at it. You can't spread yourself too thinly, because you just can't.
Sorry, go on.
You don't have the understanding. You can't have this sort of understanding on every market, too many markets. That's,
Exactly.
yeah. So I've just got more and more involved in on it. And I think after that chat, then I started talking about gold a lot more, and then I just got more and more involved in it. And that was off the back of the mic sessions, I think, as well. So
I think also you get to know the little foibles, as you've alluded to, the little nuances that you just don't see just by looking at a chart, looking at a monthly, weekly, daily chart, and then you don't see all of that. You see all of that when you're in open positions a lot. You see all the little things that happen. You see the spreads widening out. You know exactly, without even having to get a position size calculator out, how much you can put on gold if it requires X amount. Those sorts of things. I know it's silly, but I know exactly how much position size I can put in on my main accounts on the likes of euro. I don't even have to reach for a calculator. I will
yeah,
do, but you know what I mean? I'll know pretty much roughly, oh, okay, if it needs X amount of stop, and I'm sure it's very similar for you on all of those foibles, all those little nuances that, they're not that important because you can use a calculator, but you just get so used to it that you can act at times without, when you're just in the flow.
yes, yeah. And I think, the familiarity helps with a market, because you just have that little bit more of a relationship with it, I suppose. So you build your confidence that I mean, we never know what's going to happen next, of course, but we know what it's capable of, and what we could expect. So yeah, I don't know why. I just just got into it and stuck with it, really. There's been periods of time when I haven't traded it, as I say, going back, I think maybe like 2018, 19, something like that from memory, when it got very, very choppy. But when it's moving nicely, it's a lovely market to trade. But you've got, it's another one, you've got to hold your nerve with it, really, and you've got to be prepared to trade quite aggressively at times on it, when it's moving quickly,
Because
as
it'll
well.
just leave the station without you, as we've
Yeah,
seen lately. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And again, I think that is a mindset thing that develops over time, isn't it? Because a lot of people don't want to pay up, do they?
No, no.
And when it feels like, a good example almost for gold, in that regard is sort of back here, back on, what was that, the 21st of March, if I put the chart up there, that looks like, oh no, well, I'll wait for a pullback, and it's a
Mm,
classic, and you bought on that day, didn't you?
yeah, yeah.
And it's that classic scenario where sometimes, of course, you would love to add on a pullback, I'm sure, and you would have done if it had have offered you out, I don't know, but But it's that classic example of, in the moment it feels like you're paying up, and then in fact it's not, when you see what it did next. And
Yeah.
again, that's a learned behavior, with regards to whatever markets you are trading. And there, as you've quite rightly said, there are times when, the way that they can go, that you can't always be, if you hang around too long, then you'll miss out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as we talked about gold as one market, do you have any rules around the max number of open positions you would have as far as different markets at the same time?
Well, yes and no. Because what I'll do is, if I've got um if I've got a theme that I'm running, so for instance on gold, obviously we've got this theme running of the bigger pattern right now. If I've banked profits and I'm really into a theme, or in a big way, then I will reuse those profits to go in again.
Yes.
So I will have a larger open position, but it will be over the theme of the trade, so it won't be the bigger risk on my account, if you see what I mean, on my basic accounts. That's the way I look at it. So um, I've just I'm currently doing that with silver. I'm not doing it with gold at the moment, because because I've got numerous positions. I've just got more aggressive on silver right now, but that I basically put back the profit I made on silver back in again. So
So
my
yeah,
position size was 4% on silver. That's currently running up.
it's a really good example. It's a brilliant thing you've raised here, because I've not talked about this in a long time, actually. So what you're talking about is, here, let's say you'd banked 3R on a run, and rather than the next trade, when it next sets up, you put in, one, for argument's sake, 1R of risk on. You're going to say, well, I'm going to use that profit that I've banked.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to put 1R of risk on over here. I'm going to put 3R on. And that's where that massive compounding comes from.
Yes. Yeah.
I learned, a little confession for you here, on the trading accounts, on the challenge accounts, should I say? I was doing this because I do this on the main challenge account. But I've made a mistake of doing this on the client challenge accounts. You'd be thinking, well, what's wrong with that? If you've used your open profit, da da da. Well, what I forget, because I'm just trading a master account. Banked some money. This was about a year ago on a trade. Used that, and of course we've that subsequently. There's always new people entering into the
Oh,
managed
of
accounts, the
course.
challenge accounts.
Yeah.
So then, of course, had a new member, or relatively new member, someone we'd known for years, but new into the challenge accounts, has come right in and literally took I think it was about a 4% loss. And he's like, I thought you risked like up to 2%. I was like, oh God, yeah, I forgot about that. So little things like that I'm restrained on now, that I
Mm.
can't do that unless I double check with my regulators. I've learned. Has anyone come in the last 2 weeks? Anyone new or whatever? So I can do that. But that's a good reminder to a lot of our listeners, that you can do that. Okay, it means you're going to give back all of your prior profit, but if you've got, like you've said, a strong and what's my old word for a big trade, a thematic trade. So you've got a good, got a strong thematic vision of that particular market, like you have with gold and silver. Then yes, the downside is the downside, that you give back those gains, but the upside is compounded.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
I like that. Thank you. So do you have any idea nowadays about your holding periods? What's your max sort of holding period, in gold
oh,
especially, and the
um,
commodities, as they have different carry costs?
yeah. No, I haven't really set a rule for myself, but I do just keep an eye on how much it's ticking up, but it depends how the market's moving. So I'll generally not plan to hold it for too long. Although now with Pepperstone, you can trade the futures contracts on gold and silver. At
Yep.
least I'm not sure if the currencies are coming in shortly or.
I must
Um,
chase him on that. Yeah.
yeah. So if I do, but I've only used it once actually on silver. I used it, but I tend to just use my normal platform. So
Yeah.
my normal account. So I tend to have an idea of how long I think it's going to take when I'm forever planning forward. So do I think, like at the moment, do I think that it's going to run now to 2,700 in the next couple of weeks? No, not really. I think we could be held up for a while. So I'll have to, of course it might do, and it might not
Mm.
ever get there
Mhm.
in the near term.
Yeah.
But I would, if it just dragged sideways for months, then obviously that's not going to be beneficial. So I would have to keep an eye on it and maybe decide to tuck the stops up a little bit tighter and see if I got trailing stopped at some point, something like
Mm.
that. But I don't have a right, if it
Yeah.
doesn't do it in 2 months, then I'm out. I don't have
Yeah.
anything like that, but I'll just keep a general gauge on the price action, I suppose.
Yeah.
And if it has a sudden move up, then those charges pale into insignificance, really.
They do. Mm.
So it just really depends on how it moves, when it moves. Yeah.
And I know you've done a session on this in recent months. This was something that we looked at many years ago with another trader. And that was in relation to, you can be trading several markets, let's say, not all at the same time, but they're on your watch list, and you might be trading gold, silver, euro, pound, dollar, yen, whatever. You've got a watch list, even though you won't be in all of those all the time. And you remember, I know you've talked about it. It's really good for people to go back and look at their trading records and revisit and break down market by market how they're performing against each
Mm,
market, because sometimes some of these markets that people trade, they like trading them maybe because they've had one or two really nice runs out of them, but actually overall their actual performance is negative
mm.
on a given market. Have you got any experiences of that yourself, where you've done a review and you said, crikey, I'm trading dollar yen and it's
Well,
not
yeah,
profitable for me?
you just hit it on the head there. Like
Have
dollar
I?
yen is the one that I struggle with, and I find the price moving it really quite challenging. For whatever reason, I don't know. I do struggle with it, and when I've traded it over the past, I'm pretty much sort of break even. I have some winning trades, I have losing trades, and I don't really manage to hold on too much. I get whipped out. I mean, uh, it's I missed out. I'm trying to think back when it was, when we had the run up previously, when we was trading up to the RSI extremes
Yep.
on the monthlies and weeklies, and there was setups, and I got in, and then I just
It was
didn't.
here.
Yeah, my stop placement, everything, I just don't seem to read it that well, and so although you know I don't know why. It's just one that I personally struggle with, and I find that the divergences don't work as well on the yen. I think it has numerous divergences before they
Yes.
start to play out,
Yep.
and all of that. I mean, I'm sure if I really wanted to spend some time and really get deeply involved in it, then I would get better at it. But I don't really need to because I've got the other market. So I can generally read it as in direction and where it's going, but the actual price movement of it, I find quite tricky. So it's not a very profitable market for myself. So yeah, over time I've learned not to really sort of trade it too much. I'll have a nibble here and there, but I'm probably best off not doing anything with it at all, actually, and just
Yeah.
use it as background analysis. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. You've touched on something without, I think, consciously thinking about it, and that is there's a difference. There's a massive difference between analyzing a market and saying, yeah, I think it's going to go up, it's going to go down, whatever, and actually trading it and being able to trade the analysis, isn't there?
Oh yeah, yeah. And it's a classic example on the yen that we've just had, isn't it?
Mhm.
Because I was saying, oh, I can see it going up to the 160, but I wasn't in that trade because I got taken out of the long side. And it wasn't, I mean, I only ever got in on that trade actually on the long side because it was a sort of a hedge, I suppose, in a way, against the open positions that I'd got short dollar at the time,
Mhm.
and I saw this as an opportunity.
Mhm.
But my prediction was there, and it has actually played out. But I was unable to trade it, so that's just sort of a good
Mhm.
example, really. I just not, yeah, I'm not in sync with it as much.
Well, sometimes we can't trade something because we're in, like you've already alluded to, we're actually already in a lot of positions, and mentally, we're not, we subconsciously we're not accepting of being in now five open positions or however many it
Mm,
is. That can be a problem. So actually, mentally, it's just too much. We've got too much on, and then we trade it badly, almost subconsciously to get ourselves out of it. But certainly there are markets that, as you've touched on, that there's one thing analyzing them, as another thing, as I always say, putting your money on the line
mm,
is two entirely different things. And we can't,
absolutely.
and we shouldn't expect to be great at every market that we just go and look at. We can analyze them, but leave the trading sometimes to others, because like you said, you're putting a lot of focus into given markets, some of those metals and some of the major currencies. You've just said it. That's more than enough. Why do I
Yeah.
have to?
I don't need to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously do our analysis for a broad picture, across the markets. But as other members will say it, Mav said it numerous times, don't trade the yen, but if you can see the yen moving away, then it's a dollar-based pair, etc. So it's part of the overall analysis, isn't it?
Mm.
But it is a very tricky one. I mean, when I'm looking at this now, is it going to pull back? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or is it going to carry on? There's a lot of other factors to the yen as well, of course, isn't there? So,
Absolutely, it's a different looking chart to the others against the dollar.
mm.
Um, One of my last questions, you'll be pleased to know, in this shortish interview, um, is the Shelley of 2014. So I just picked that deliberately. It's 10 years ago, so a
Right.
decade ago. The Shelley as a trader and maybe as a person as well, is a different Shelley to the Shelley of today. Why is that?
I think I've been on a massive personal journey since in the last 10 years, actually. I will, just on a personal level, I got divorced and everything like that. And uh, I think my work changed, my family commitments, everything personally in my life has realistically in the past 8, 9 years, especially, has really turned to where I want it to be. Where I was living a life maybe I didn't really want to be living 10 years ago, and a bit suffocated. And so I feel like it opened a door, and I've evolved as a person. And I think in the last few years that you've been doing CBT here, it's really really a fantastic room. How that changed and helped me, and I think trading as a whole uh, over time has improved me as a person, because you have to learn to accept self-criticism, and you have to, just as part of your everyday, you're questioning everything, every decision, analyzing it, not worrying about, when I first started trading, I used to get really upset if I was sort of wrong as such.
Yeah.
um, But now I just accept it. Oh, okay, that's not working. This is what's happening now. We're moving on. We're going to look at this direction, or we're doing this. And it's not, you don't even stop to think, oh, I've wasted all that analysis because now that's not happening. It's not going that way. We now got to go this, um, and so it just comes second nature. And I think that's really spilled over into my life as a person. And I feel like I don't know, improved as a person generally, being able to look at other sides of life and consider other people a lot more. Where before I was maybe not in such a good place and not able to mentally cope with that. And I think that's been a big factor as well in my sort of success in the last 10 years. Just sorting that part of my
Yeah.
life out. Yeah.
And do you think, obviously everyone knows that, the exercise you do, the triathlons now, the duathlons before, and still doing them, swimming around islands out at sea, crazy stuff. But how do you feel that's benefited you as well?
Yeah, it's really important for me for my my mental health, sort of just getting out of my day-to-day environment, going out cycling, and I'm in the countryside and chatting with friends that got nothing to do with my everyday work and everything that I'm doing. And I just find that break really, really important. It's and just I do a lot of training outside, and I really enjoy that because I went to the lake this weekend for the first time actually this year, but it was just so lovely to be swimming outdoors, and it just clears your head a bit, and I think that's crucial because what I'm doing with everything that I'm juggling, because obviously I work as well as trade,
Mm,
my trading is work as well, but um,
yeah.
uh, it's mentally exhausting sometimes, just trying to keep everything going, mentally and physically. Sometimes, I just feel exhausted at the end of the week. And the last thing I want to do is go out and cycle, but in fact, it's so important that I do because it just, yeah, really, really helps me. And I think just keeping fit and healthy and the discipline around keeping fit and healthy, translates again across into your methodology with, trading and everything else, the way that you conduct yourself on a day-to-day basis. You have to have that discipline, and that commitment, I
Mm,
suppose.
mm. It's funny, isn't it? Like you've just said, the okay, there's been changes in your life anyway. On a personal level, you've become a grandmother in that last 10 years, maybe actually, yeah,
Yep.
within that last 10 years. And so there's a lot of things that you've had to channel energy into and away from. And like everybody does in life, everybody, as we always say, has got, life so often gets in the way of trading, but at the same time, trading, I always see it as it starts to walk along your life with you.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think at the beginning, I was struggling to cope, with fitting trading in around my life and my
Yeah.
work and everything else. But certainly, yeah, I think going back sort of 9, 10 years, it's turned out for the better, and
Yeah.
it fits in very, very well. Yeah.
And can I know that I said that was the last question, but one more question.
Yep.
Um, the next 2 years, trading wise, do you have any vision of whatever your trading is going to be looking like, or in 2 years' time from now, do you not really look at it that way, or
Um,
might be from a, I don't know, the size of the pot that you're still trading with, because everyone's still growing their pots. Doesn't matter how long you're trading for.
yeah. Well, that's, the continued aim is to keep, growing my pot. And not so much that the trading will change, but maybe I would drop away more from other work,
Yeah.
as I can, because I'm quite happy with my trading and doing the swing trading and how that fits in. So I'm really quite, feel like I'm in a good place with that now. But if I can, over the next 2 to 5 years, probably. back off from some of the other work, then that would be a
Yeah,
good thing.
yeah. No, I get that. Okay, well, I think we've gone on for 35, 40 minutes. It's a perfect sort of chat time here, and I'd just like to say thanks for sharing all of that. And I think it's been a brilliant little chat. It's great to be able to do this, and I do appreciate everything you do, filling in when I'm haven't taken my breaks, doing your Monday sessions, which are so popular, and I appreciate everything you've done. And thanks for just sharing some more of your thoughts here as we've recorded this on a Tuesday evening.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you. No, I appreciate everything. It works both ways, as we say. But yeah.
Well, great stuff. I'm going to, in that case, press stop on the recording. I'm sure there'll be, we're going to play this recording this very week. The one thing with playing this as a recording is people don't get to ask questions. So what if you're around at the end of the week on Friday, if you are, then, or it doesn't matter when, if it's not Friday in one of the lunchtime session that I do, or whatever
Yep.
the session is this Friday afternoon, maybe next week in your own session, people can ask questions on the back of it. So because I'm sure there'll be some questions that people will have in mind. So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. No
thank
problem.
you again, very much appreciated. I'm going to press stop on the recording now.